YouTube, ShredQuest here.
It is Friday, September 12th at around 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you so much for clicking on the vid and joining me today. Recently, I did a recon of Mills Peak Trail near Gray Eagle, California, which was an awesome recon. Unfortunately, as I was descending Mills Peak, near the top, I broke a rear spoke on the Decoy. So I ordered a replacement rear spoke for the Crank Brothers Synthesis Alloy eMTB wheels on Crank Brothers website, and I did receive replacement spokes. The kit comes with 3 drive side and 3 non-drive side replacement spokes and 6 spoke nipples. That's not the only thing that happened on that ride at Mills Peak. My rear brake also lost pressure. On the way up, it lost pressure, and on the way down, I was just squeezing the lever all the way to the grip. It was pretty disorienting trying to ride like that. And again, it was my first time there. It is filled with chunk and rock gardens and tech, and it is super fun if you're ever in the neighborhood and you want a real challenge. It's a great tech climb. I did have my e-bike, but even on an e-bike, it's a serious challenge. I can't even imagine attempting to climb it on analog, although someday, hopefully I will. So today what we're gonna do is replace the broken non-drive side spoke on the rear Crank Brothers Synthesis rim. I've already prepped the rear wheel and removed the cassette. I cleaned off the hub and the hub end caps. I re-greased the freewheel with more Pro X grease. I've also unseated the tire off of one side of the rim, and I've removed the Cushcore. I had to remove the spoke nipple, and I had to cut a little hole in the rim tape. I'm not going to remove all the rim tape. It is possible to use the Stan's rim tape to patch holes in existing rim tape. Because of the way the wheel is dished, the non-drive side spokes are just a tad bit longer by, I think, like a couple millimeters or so from what I can tell. Just making sure they're actually round and not bladed. That occurred to me just now. I'll put up the order and the part name up on screen for you, and you can see what part to order for the Decoy Crank Brothers Synthesis Alloy Rear 27.5 wheel, okay? Thanks for subscribing, liking the vid, and leaving me a comment or a tip about wheel repair. I would appreciate knowing how you fix a broken spoke on your wheels. I already took the tire off part way and removed the Cushcore. I don't yet know if I'll need to take this tire all the way off. I'm trying to avoid doing that. Here's where the broken spoke was, and here's the selection of non-drive side, slightly longer spokes. Let's go ahead and put this through. Now this is always tricky to me because you kind of have to like bend the spoke, it seems, but I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out the orientation right now. It has to go through here like this. Okay. I don't want to bend it too much here, right? That's difficult. God, it's really tough. Gosh. I think the orientation is fine. In my toolkit, it's basically half of a spoke, so I just have the thread like that. I have a little cable crimp on the end, just so I can hold it easier. This is very useful. So you have the threads here, you have some way to hold it, so you don't lose the nipple inside the rim. You're gonna use the old spoke to just put it on halfway, okay, like so. You can go in through the spoke hole in the rim, and now you're not gonna lose that nipple inside the rim, and you can even screw the nipple onto the new spoke, like so. The spoke nipple is definitely screwed on enough to the new spoke. Here, let me get my spoke wrench. I'm also getting prepared to bleed the Maven brakes. Again, lost pressure coming down Mills Peak. Pretty scary there for a little while. Even crashed my spoke nipple wrench. I'm gonna hold it And I am going to now remove this little like tool that I have. Oh, I'll have to recrimp that. This is the first time I've tried to do this without fully removing the tire. So on the end of the nipple, there's actually a place where you can fit a slotted screwdriver. Let me go ahead and grab one. It's a little piece of tape right here. Let's mark off the spoke right now. That way we're gonna know and we won't lose track of it. Go. And we're just slowly turning that nipple with the screwdriver. The nice thing about J-bend is that the bend keeps the spoke from rotating as you tighten it down. Whereas straight pull spokes will rotate and you need a way to keep the spoke from turning. But I'm just right now tightening the spoke up. Not too tight. I want to true it once it's on the bike. That's looking good already. Just making sure the orientation is good still, but it looks good to me. Not too tight. That might even be too tight. Let's go ahead and tape these replacements up. This is non-D side. Now we're going to use a little rubbing alcohol. We're gonna clean. Admittedly, I rode this wheel through the rest of the gnar and chunk on Mills Peak, and I didn't really hold back too much just because the wheel was still fairly true after the spoke broke. If the rim had been more warped, I probably would have gone easier on the wheel. I think these wheels are generally pretty durable, and I went ahead and just had fun on the rest of Mills Peak. I don't recommend doing what I did though, per se, if you can help it. Just taking the rubbing alcohol, trying to clean where I'm gonna be patching it. I am gonna make the patch slightly long. That should be good enough. Now we'll go ahead and get rim tape. I think this is actually, it looks like Stan's, but it's WTB. Let's get a little duster. I know I have one with me in my kit right here. Well, first of all, let's measure. We have just enough room in there to patch it. Maybe like that. That should be good. Folded it over. Should be fine. Try and get the bubbles out. There's the hole in question. There's a little crease right there. I'm not too concerned about that. I think that looks pretty darn good. I think that's going to be just fine. Okay. Here, I'll let you guys see again. I don't know if my camera angle was good or not. It looks pretty good. The tape is holding over the spoke hole with the new spoke in it, and there's enough overlap there, 1/5 of an inch or something, but I think that's gonna be fine. That's gonna work. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put these in the sun, and then we'll install. So I got these warming up. We'll go ahead and take one more look, but I think that patch is gonna work just fine. We can always replace the tape later if we need to. That rim's pretty beat up. I'll tell you that much from the rocks and stuff that I hit. We'll let this heat up in the sun for a little while, and then we'll come back in a little bit. I think this wheel's been sitting out in the sun long enough. Let's go ahead and, hello, don't be difficult. Stop that. I'm trying to get this channel. There we go. Tire's been heating up. Nice thing about these standard EXO casing Maxxis tires is that the casing is really chill to make tire install a lot simpler. I mean, that's already pretty much done. I don't even think I need the bead bro. I might need the bead bro actually. I didn't drop the bead on this very well. And if you've put in Cushcore, you know what I'm talking about. But I didn't need the bead bro. It's looking good. And there we go. Looking good. And hopefully we can get that nice and trued up. And that is tight. Looking good. Tomorrow, I'll see you guys for the brake bleed. We'll keep the rotor off for now. We're gonna start with this rear brake, rear Maven, and then I think we'll also just go ahead and bleed the front. I forget if the front was feeling spongy at Mills peak. Just to be safe, we'll go ahead and bleed the front. Now I've already double checked the torque, which is 6.5 Newton meters on all these. These are caliper body bolts on the Mavens. The torque is 6.5 Newton meters, okay? And I've already checked these with my torque wrench. You can get fluid loss and pressure issues if these are not torqued to spec. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good morning. It is 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Saturday, September 13th, 2025. Yesterday, we replaced a broken spoke on my Decoy. Today, what we're gonna do is bleed the Maven brakes. At least we're gonna try to. I've already prepared a couple syringes. I don't bleed brakes that much. I mean, this is kind of a Hail Mary to see if I can even do this. I did already clean off the caliper, the inside of the caliper with just a little very mild soapy water, rinse that off with fresh water. It's been drying for a little while. I've been watching the SRAM mineral oil bleed process on YouTube. I purchased this 16-ounce Maxima mineral oil bottle. You are supposed to use Maxima mineral oil with Mavens. Now, the other thing I did purchase was this Maven bleed block. It was $4 on Jensen. And I purchased this mineral oil bleeding edge tool, which is colored green. And the tip on the mineral oil bleeding edge tool is larger than the tip on the dot fluid bleeding edge tool. We are supposed to reset the pistons back in the caliper, enough to get the bleed block in at least. Yeah, there we go. Bleed block is in. I goofed. Supposed to install the... Now we can install the bleed block. There we go. Go ahead and remove the bleed port cover. Put that in a safe place. It says use a 5mm hex wrench to loosen the bleed port valve a quarter turn, then gently retighten the bleed port. All right, and some fluid loss may occur. Just a quarter turn, and then gently retighten. Now we can get our syringe with the bleeding edge tool. So we go ahead and click that in. Okay, we're gonna open the system. One revolution. Adjust the lever blade until it is 75 to 80 millimeters from the center line of the handlebar. For levers with contact, okay, adjust away from the arrow. We'll do that for sure. So we want to adjust this all the way. Let's see, do we? Oh, we do. So this actually has metric. 80 millimeters. Oops. 75 to 80 millimeters. I think that's good, like that. Oh no, wait. That's basically all the way out from the center line of the handlebar. Whoops. So that's good right there. Okay. Measure twice, cut once, right guys? I don't want to do this wrong. Adjust away from the arrow. We've done that. Now it wants us to put the syringe in the bleed port. Oh. Of course I dropped the screw. Why isn't that working? Is this the wrong size? Oh, brutal. That's not gonna work. Well, hit a snag. The connector on the syringe that I have is not small enough for the Maven lever. I have to find another solution. I did get a generic one off Amazon, so we'll see if that works. I literally just need the tip. I mean, there are extra parts in the kit. Generic syringes, hoses, a cup, a couple generic bleed blocks, and the tips. The tips that I need to connect to the lever. I have the bleeding edge tool. I just need the tips. It is what it is. Sorry, guys. I'll see you back here on the 15th. Good morning. It's about 8 a.m. on Tuesday, September 16th, and I received a generic Amazon bleed kit for Mavens last night. This is what it is. Basically, the only thing I need from this whole kit, right now at least, is just one of these tips. The Maven lever has a smaller bleed port, so that's what I need this tip for. What I'm gonna do is pull back this plunger a little and get the fluid back into the main cylinder here, close it off, swap out the tip, then we'll go ahead and get started on the bleed again. Here's the new tip right here. I'm gonna go ahead and close it off. Hopefully everything fits. Oh God. Well, there's no way to lock it down. Silly. As you can see here, there's threads, which is a much better system. And on this one, there are no threads. Oh God, what have I done? Anyway, let me push some air out here. Clean that off. Push a little more air out here. Supposed to take a 5 and open it a little. There we go. That's fully open. The SRAM video on YouTube, it only shows leveling the lever for the non-bleeding edge brakes. All right, so despite what the SRAM video says to do, I'm going to go ahead and rotate the lever up. There we go. So it's level. That looks good. Undo this. Now the other day this just kept falling on the ground. It was super annoying me. It says to go from the lever first. Oh man, there's a ton of air coming out. It says if it's discolored to start over with the procedure. So let's see how discolored it is. I'm gonna stop here in a second. It does look discolored, doesn't it? There's a ton of air coming out of the system. Just pushing all the fluid out as much as I can. Okay, that's good enough. Stop this up. Close off the bleed port here. Okay. Now let's go ahead and release. Oh, that was dumb. Fuck. Oh my God. Squirted out all over my bike. Not good. This is why I don't like brake bleeding. It's so messy. I should have taken the front wheel off too to get the rotor away, and I didn't. My bad. We don't actually need to squeeze this out. We can just get more. All the discolored fluid is in the other one. Okay. Well, let's do this one first. Pull on this and then depress so the bubbles all come out. There you go. That's good. Same with this. Let's go ahead and get this in. 1 revolution. Let's keep the rag here under this side, just in case. I'm screwing in the lever syringe. Let's see. Let's go ahead and cover up the front rotor. Time to watch the video again. First thing you do is depress the plunger like so, and the fluid's moving through the system, and then you pull up. Hold the caliper syringe vertically while you slowly pull the lever upward to draw oil from the caliper syringe. Let's see if we can do this, guys. Okay, now we're gonna push air back, and basically what we're trying to do is continue pulling and pushing to get all the air out of the system. I'm making sure this is tight. Let me push a little. Let's continue doing that. I'm not seeing much air in the system anymore, I don't think, but I can't be sure. That's horrible. Okay. Now I did that several times. I'm gonna go ahead and close off the caliper port. Do that. Open the clamp on the syringe and pull the lever a few times. Okay, that is extremely firm. So it says to pull up on the lever and then depress, pressurize the system. I'm not seeing any air bubbles exit the system. Let's do one more. Close the lever on the syringe. It's about to get messy. Oh, God, it's freaking a lot of pressure. That's tight. I don't know what that did to the lever though. Does it pull back? No, it's still a lot of pressure. So that's a good sign. Let's move this out of the way though. Okay, it's telling me to remove the bleed block now. I'm gonna go wash my hands before we start getting into the caliper side. Right, let's remove the bleed block. There we go. Let's put this over here. This back. Okay. Got a brand new set of these hard-headed ram ceramic green Maven pads. They've been pretty good to me. They wear kind of quick though. That's the one downside. Oops. That's the way they go, like that. Here's where I need the spacer. There we go. I had it in my bike bag for my trip to Mills Peak. So we're getting close. Said to insert the pad spacer like that and squeeze the lever. They feel good. They feel good, guys. Squeeze the lever to advance the pistons, which we did. So squeeze the lever And now take this out, insert. Now we can put the rotor back on the wheel, put the brake back on, and put everything back together. And then we'll move to the front, because why not? As much as I don't want to, it's like, why not? Why not? Why not do the front, huh? Might as well, right? Could take that off. All right, you guys don't need to see this part. I'm just gonna take the wheel off and put the rotor on. Okay, I'm just tightening the rear axle to 12 Newton meters. Next, I need to center the calipers. Let's drop this down to 8. So yeah, we just need to center the calipers. Squeeze the lever, we centered the calipers. Rotor is a little warped. Pretty good centering though. That's better. No rub. Feels pretty good right there. Just cleaning off the grease as I go. Make sure it's not rubbing still. Yep. Let's get the clip in too, huh? And we'll just rotate the brake lever. I usually like to tighten to 2, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, these prefer almost 4. Maybe 3? Yeah, 3. Hey folks, I was just able to bleed the front brake. The front brake bleed happened just the same as the rear. I specifically wanted to follow the SRAM video first, and I want to see how quickly brake fade develops, or for instance, a wandering bite point develops. So I am very interested to track those results. When I bled the front, I did notice slightly cloudy mineral oil coming out through the caliper. I threw out that old mineral oil and I put in some new mineral oil, kind of flushed out the front brake. Just the same as the rear brake, there were a bunch of air bubbles that came out, so I am glad that I did bleed it. I'm just wondering if somehow the Maven system gets air bubbles easier than like the codes, for example. I don't know. What are my general impressions of the Maven brake bleed compared to like the code brake bleed, which I recently did? The system seems more pressurized than the codes. It's definitely a messier process to bleed the Mavens. I personally have no problem cleaning up dot fluid. It's just as messy as mineral oil. Mineral oil maybe is more messier because it's like oil. At least dot fluid like evaporates and stuff. My bad for trying to bleed on the pavement. The code bleed that I recently did on my Capra was much cleaner, and I think I was thinking it was going to be like that somehow. You can't attach a code bleed port connector. You have to have the smaller diameter Maven bleed port connector. I had to wait a couple days for the part to come in through Amazon. The bleed kit stuff is expensive, and I just don't think it needs to be that expensive because it seems like a lot of plastic parts and stuff. So $70 on Jensen without the bleeding edge tool seems a bit excessive. The bleed process was okay for someone who really dislikes bleeding. I don't think I've said it enough to you guys. Just kidding. There's no certain point where I'm like confident that I'm finished with the bleed, and I think that's what I don't like. Tighten a bolt to spec, you're one and done, you know you're done. that's it. Check it off the list. Or even in the case of the spoke replacement for the rear wheel, the final step is truing the wheel, testing some spoke tension, but truing the wheel is good to go. And then, true it again in another month or so, right? But as far as the brake bleed, like now I have to go test the bike and I'll never know if it just decides to start failing again on a super fun downhill trail like Mills Peak, for example. But anyway, thank you so much for staying through to the end of the vid if you did. I know my repair vids aren't the best. Having the camera on my full face helmet seems to work for me because it just allows my hands to be free and I don't have to keep repositioning the camera, but it's not the best way to film repairs. Yeah, thanks so much for sticking with me and hope you got something out of it. Hopefully it's giving you the confidence to at least think about trying to bleed your own Mavens. And thanks for liking the vid, subscribing, setting notifications if you want, and dropping a comment for me. I really appreciate it, and I'll try and respond to the comments. All right, I'll see you guys out on the trail very soon. Peace out.